All right, with me now is former prosecutor Tad Nelson, who joins us from Houston, and criminal defense attorney Page Pate from Atlanta. All right, Page, what do you think? I'll give you the defense. How do you think Mark O'Mara did? Don West obviously had his problems with the judge, which, you know, as a former judge myself, I don't like defense attorneys fighting with me or prosecutors. But how do you think the defense did here?
Well, I think it was certainly good defense strategy not to use Mr. West for the closing argument. You know, no more knock-knock jokes. That doesn't work. I think Mr. O'Mara did a good job.
Horrible.
It was.
That was horrible.
It was important for the defense, though, to step up and go back and talk about the law and talk about reasonable doubt. Leave the emotion out of it and remind the jurors that at the end of the day, they're going to be instructed by the judge that they have to apply these statutes. And so the drier you are for the defense in this case, the less you focus on emotion, the better chance you have of a not guilty verdict.
Anyway, let's move on to Page. Page, do you think that the judge favored the prosecution?
I really don't. I think the judge has been fair in almost all of her rulings, well, really all of her rulings, and it's been important for this judge, and I think good for everyone in the case, that she has moved the case along. She's let both parties have their side. She's given them time to make their arguments, but she moves the case along.
But, Paige, I'm going to end it with you. This jury, do you think that they will render a unanimous verdict, or do you think that the time that's passed is some indication that there's some tension in there and maybe a hung jury's coming?
Not necessarily. I think it's very likely we're going to get a unanimous verdict. You know, there's 6 people in this jury box, not 12. That's a big point. They've been sequestered together. I bet right now they're fairly close. And they realize that this is a very important case. They know it'll have to be tried over if they don't reach a verdict. I expect we're going to see a unanimous verdict, yes. Yes.
Paige, what Tad says makes perfect sense. I think that so many people come to this case with their own preconceived notions, more than in normal cases, that the sides are based not on the facts and not on justice, but basically on what they believe, what their perception is of the system and of people and of profiling on both sides. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Well, you're certainly right, Judge, as far as the public is concerned, but I think in this case the jury has been paying very careful attention. The judge has instructed them. They seem to want to do a good job. And, Judge, I'm sure you know, once you put people in that box, they change. I think they take the job seriously. They try to put those preconceived notions, those perceptions to the side and really evaluate the evidence and consider the law. And I think so far, based on the way they've paid attention, they're going to do the same thing in the jury room.
All right, Paige, hit it. I see you're shaking your head, Paige.
Right. If I'm the defense attorney in this case, I am not going to go and check into the extent of these injuries. You don't even need injuries to be able to have a self-defense claim. So the more you make that an issue, the more the prosecution can then rebut you and say, look, the injuries aren't that bad. So he has injuries, that helps, but you don't even need injuries to argue self-defense.
No, you don't.
You are a very good defense attorney, Paige, and I'll tell you why, because that is absolutely the case. It was whether or not he was reasonable in his fear, not how badly he got beat up. Hey, and Paige, your thoughts?
You know, what we don't know here is whether we have several jurors with a question or only one. You know, many times a jury will come back and ask the judge to go over something again or explain one particular point simply to mollify that holdout juror. So we could have a split here, but I think it's way too early to declare this a hung jury. I do think the judge will probably inquire if they're making progress.